have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. In what is becoming an too familiar scene, Jamaica has been devastated and wiped out from Hurricane Melissa. We are seeing this more and more and more. And of course, we can expect to see more and more and more of this in the future as we head towards Agenda 2030 and as they continue to push the climate change hoax so that they can get away with pretty much being land developers, which is exactly what they're doing. They're wiping out certain areas of land that they've targeted. Yes, some of it has to do with acquiring natural resources, but the other part of it is they have blueprints set up, like psychopaths, like designers who are trying to build something on land that's already occupied by other people. And they say, well, we can't knock on their doors and expect them to give us or sell us their property if they've lived there for X amount of years and they don't want to move. So the only other thing we can do is either commit arson by using smart meters or directed energy weapons, or we'll just use our hurricane machines and our devices to steer hurricanes so we can wipe out the land that they live on and then tell them, look, this land is no longer livable. The government is going to come in and we're going to build new infrastructure because the infrastructure conveniently has been destroyed, just like you're about to see in Jamaica. And I'm going to play this clip for you that aired on CBS News where you can see the crap-eating grin on the face of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, because of course he's smiling after his entire country just got wiped out, where 30 people were killed, where people lost their homes, where the entire place is pretty much underwater. Yeah, the natural response is to smile on the news and talk about rebuilding infrastructure, because conveniently that's exactly what he was talking about years in advance, how we were going to force Jamaicans into a digital currency and a digital grid and digital governance, AI governance, and how convenient that now that this hurricane has completely wiped them out, they could build that digital infrastructure and that digital grid that is needed for AI governance. Here's the clip that aired on CBS Morning News.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba earlier today as a Category 3 storm. Before that, it brought heavy winds and rain to Jamaica. CBS News correspondent Jason Allen rode out this historic storm in Kingston, Jamaica. He's now getting a first-hand look at the damage. Jason, good morning. What was last night like, and what does the daylight bring?
Good morning, Errol. It was another long night for people in Jamaica, because even as the storm moves past the island, the backside of it was still bringing really extreme winds. There was rain that was falling, heavy rain, well into the night, and so people didn't get a lot of sleep. Now, in the capital city of Kingston, the power is on, and as we moved across this morning, we didn't see extensive damage. Now, as we move further west, and that's what we're doing this morning, we're here in Old Harbor, no power here. We hear generators running, and we know from talking to locals, it gets worse the farther west that you go, which is what we're doing today.
And what, Jason, are officials saying about infrastructure? I know you mentioned power is out in so many places. Any idea of the assistance needed?
Yeah, well, there's power. We know some of the water systems have failed. We know that there is likely going to be some minimal damage to buildings from Kingston and in those areas just to the west. But there, out that direction towards Santa Cruz and Black River, it's extensive. We talked a little bit to the Prime Minister yesterday about that. Here's what he told us.
There's scarcely any building or infrastructure that would escape without some form of damage. We have budgeted and we have prepared a certain level of response, but a Category 5 would require support from the international community.
Yeah, and so you hear that, it's going to be devastation, and I really don't think that we have realized the full impact of it yet. We're not going to get a better sense of that until the day goes on today.
And of course, it's only natural to see your Prime Minister smiling. This would be the equivalent almost of seeing George Bush, who put on his heroic acting performance after 9/11, seeing him on the news smiling 5 minutes after the towers went down. This guy couldn't even put on a performance and act as if he was devastated by what occurred. He's smiling ear to ear. And why is he doing that? Because this is exactly what is needed. And this is a guy who is a member of the World Economic Forum. He's even listed as an agenda contributor. He's a speaker at the United Nations. And well, listen to him speak about digital infrastructure. And again, if you don't know what that means, in order to build a new infrastructure, you have to demolish the old infrastructure. You don't just switch over. You would have to sabotage the infrastructure. And that's what you're seeing all the governments around the earth doing right now, including here in the United States of America, where Donald Trump is sabotaging the infrastructure. The Democrats and the Republicans are working together to bring down the infrastructure so they could bring in AI governance, which is what all these data centers, and this is what Project Stargate is all about. But here he is, years in advance to this hurricane, smiling, talking about forget paper, forget humans. The way forward is with AI and no more interaction with people. Everything's going to be digital.
In the coming weeks and days, I'll be making certain announcements regarding the acceleration of Jamaica's intention to become a fully digital society. We are well on our way to this. We have established the National Identification System. We have put in place our digital currency. We have given directions to our ministries to digitalize their operations. Most of our ministries are now moving from paper-based systems to digital systems. Our military is transitioning. The society is moving very quickly, very rapidly to become digital. Our banking consumers are seeing it as well because the banks are moving very rapidly to digital. You have something now called artificial intelligence. Very soon, this position of a human being exchanging cash and so on, that is going to disappear from the banking system very soon. And you are going to have to interface with machines. I don't want it to be a scary thought.
So how convenient a puppet for the AI Governance Alliance is openly talking about needing and wanting digital infrastructure. Then when his country gets completely leveled, he's smiling ear to ear, talking to the media about what the future holds, right? And of course, this is Vision 2030 for Jamaica. If you haven't heard, Jamaica has a plan for 2030, just like some other countries do, just like the United Nations has for all of us. And Agenda 2030 and Vision 2030 are the exact same thing, because right underneath Vision 2030, they show you the sustainable development goals for the United Nations and how Jamaica is going to fit into that. In fact, openly, it says Jamaica's Vision 2030 National Development Plan includes specific strategies that promote and enable smart city development. While it does not refer to a single smart city project, it lays the groundwork for creating such urban spaces through several key components of its overall sustainable development goals. And again, the stuff that they do to brainwash people is these guys come and they speak and they talk about new infrastructure. People go, what, new infrastructure? And then they talk about equality and sustainability. They use these words that just sound like, oh, yes, equality. Oh, why? What's going on in Jamaica that there's not equality? Are black people not being treated right? Are white people not being treated right? They say equality because it's going to be equal living slavery. Everyone's going to be a part of this same enslavement grid, this digital grid that they want to build out. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the equivalent to people who have an idea. Their idea is we're going to build smart cities. And what smart cities are, they're all connected to one another. The buildings are connected, the towers are connected, the surveillance is connected, you're connected. You're monitored and tracked everywhere you go with your phone. It's a digital grid. And they can't do this without your cooperation. So you think if they came to your door where you live right now, and they said, well, we want to buy your home. And you're like, well, I don't want to sell my home. I grew up in this home. Or I just bought this home. I love my home. And they said, well, we need to buy it, right? Kind of like they did in Lahaina. We need this location. Can we have it, please? And all the citizens in Lahaina said, no, we will not move. We will not give you our land. And they said, well, behind closed doors, we have a blueprint here of what we want to do here on Maui. So if these people won't sell us their land, just like an 80s horror film, right? That's what it sounds like. It's an 80s movie plot. Oh, well, if they won't sell us their land, then we're going to have to, maybe light the building on fire in the middle of the night so that these people wake up and either they perish or they run out of their homes and they never go back. And that's exactly what we've been seeing all around the earth the last couple of years. Let's start with LA, right? They had to come out and they had to mock people like us who were warning about LA because they were telling us that LA was going to turn into a smart city by 2028 for the Olympics. And everybody said, well, how are you going to do that? You have to build all these buildings. You have to build the Olympic Village as they always do. You're going to need to take homes down in order to do this, you're also going to need to change the transportation system in Los Angeles. Well, what conveniently happened? We had the Palisades fire, right? The LA wildfires. And then, of course, a few weeks ago, they show us some guy we're supposed to believe just lit every single house on fire like that. Just demolished it to the ground, right? Almost like they were vaporized. Well, they were vaporized, of course, because they had smart meters on them. And in the media, they mocked all of us. Conspiracy theories speak of smart cities, right? And then we all warned, and all the people who live in LA, who are mainly, liberal people who don't believe in the stuff that we say, even though we're not conservatives, we're not Republican voters because your vote doesn't count. They look at us like we're nuts until they find out, oh my goodness, what these people are saying is true. Because now they're going to build low-income housing and smart city infrastructure right around the Palisades and in the Palisades, all in time for Smart LA 2028. What about Maui? Right? We want your land. We're not selling our land. Hup. How convenient the people who run Maui. We're all meeting on the Big Island, weren't even in Maui, to talk about what would happen if there was a catastrophic fire in Maui, right? That's crazy. It's almost like on 9/11, how they were running drills at the same time the event went live, or the Boston bombing, or any of these other events that happen at schools. We find out they're running a drill on the same day that a shooting actually occurs, right? Exploring Maui's smart city plans, a vision for sustainable urban innovation by 2030. There's that number again, right? Then what do, right? They smile at you. They put stuff like this out. And they go, look at these wonderful people in government. Look, they're all together holding hands. They're bringing all of the people whose homes perished in the fires to their new homes. And they show you these pictures of an updated FEMA city where everybody has the same exact little cubicle, but you could pick your own color, right? Ooh, I want green. I want blue, says the sheeple. They give you pictures of the rainbow going over it, and everybody's supposed to smile, right? Until, of course, you realize that the people who are getting put in these homes, they had their homes lit on fire by psychopathic mass murderers who commit mass genocide. You think they'd be smiling and thankful that the government's giving them these FEMA homes if they knew that the government themselves burned their homes to the ground? Well, of course they wouldn't. But everybody out there just goes, well, that's out of the realm of possibility. We've heard about wicked empires before, the Roman Empire. We've heard tales of Hitler and Stalin and all these psychopaths who have just done everything in their power to ruin human beings' lives and want full control over them. But in 2025, where we see nothing but psychopathic behavior and sociopaths around us and narcissism, no way any of these people want total rule and dominion over the people. Right? They don't want to use this technology to enslave people so they can monitor and track where they go. Kind of like during COVID, where they said, we're going to contact trace. We're going to monitor if you were on a plane, if you farted in a local high school bathroom, everything, every gas and every breath that comes out of your body. We want to monitor and track because you could be spreading the virus. Huh? Yeah. Same people, same thing, all the same goals. Digital ID, monitor and tracking, smart city surveillance. So moving forward, we don't know what their blueprint looks like, because we're not invited, unfortunately, to the Bilderberg meetings. And I say unfortunately because I'd love to be invited. I can't say what I'd love to do because, but yeah, it'd be fun to listen in, to be a fly on the wall, so to speak. But we're not invited to the Bohemian Grove. We're not invited to any of these big events that they have where in secret where they discuss these things. I'm sure they have a big blueprint on the wall that says, well, these are the places that we're going to demolish, we're going to destroy with weaponized weather and other things like directed energy weapons, and this is what we're going to build, right? But we could look at some other places that have their own vision 2030, because Jamaica has their vision for 2030 and building out smart city infrastructure, just like their prime minister said, a digital infrastructure all run through AI, which is AI governance. Well, here's Kenya. Kenya has their own vision for 2030, right? And conveniently right now, at the same time, Kenya's getting hit with a cyclone, right? Called Change. They're getting drilled with it. It's taking another weird, non-natural turn, like a lot of these storms that we've seen. How they've kind of gone in the opposite direction of the jet stream, and then they just come out and do what they always do. Well, climate change is causing that. And you're supposed to nod and say, oh, okay. So all of a sudden things aren't looking natural anymore. But because of climate change, I guess that's why, right? So Kenya could be another place that they're going to look to demolish. Saudi Arabia has Vision 2030. We know they're obviously building the imprisonment city, the Line, out there as well. And again, weather modification. For anyone that doesn't know, weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025. This is a research paper from the U.S. Air Force, okay, done back in August of 1996. And if you haven't checked your watch or your calendar, wherever you figure out what day of the week it is or what month it is or what year it is 2025. And we've seen weather modification over the last couple of years like we've never seen before. And people go, well, that's not true. They can't control the weather. Right now, they only have it patented, right? They have patents for hurricane and tornado control devices. The United States government does, right? Then you talk to him about Dubai. He says, you know that they actually cloud seed in Dubai, right? That they cloud seed. They make it rain. They have the ability to do it. And people go, wait, what? Oh, okay. But then the media comes out and they go, yeah, they can make it rain, but they can't make these really, really intense hurricanes like these conspiracy theorists claim. Oh, of course, what do you think? They're going to admit to it? They're going to knock on the door of a mass murderer who's on the loose, who's on a killing spree, and he's going to confess? You're going to knock on Michael Myers' door. He's going to take his mask off, put his knife down, and say, you got me, right? Yeah, they're all going to admit to it. Yeah, we have the ability to do this with the weather. And yes, we're doing it to you. Well, they'd all be rounded up and arrested, and they wouldn't have a trial, and they probably wouldn't end up in jail either, right? My favorite with the weather modification is the stuff that we've been seeing over the last couple of years with the aurora borealis. All of a sudden, you can see the northern lights anywhere on the earth, and nobody's suspicious about it, right? You know, the same place that HAARP happens to operate, right? And you see that in the sky, and they try to tell you, well, scientists are using radio transmitters to create artificial auroras. And you go, oh, they're making artificial ones, right? Because they're doing weather modification, and you're seeing aurora borealis as a result of that. You got NOAA that comes out. They say debunking weather modification claims. No one creates or steers hurricanes. That technology doesn't exist. That's what they tell us, right? Yet they scrubbed their website after people realized what Nextrad, NOAA, what all these, HAARP actually does. And they actually had pages and pages of documents, hundreds of pages of weather modification project reports where they were documenting weather modification. It says it right on their website, right? They scrubbed it, but it's right there. In fact, here are all the patents the government has about cloud seeding, geoengineering, aerial insecticide, aerial dusting, chemically produced color smokes. I mean, you can read it for yourself. These are all government patents. Now, why would the government patent these things? Are they using it to make sure that farmers don't lose their crops? How come we always hear about droughts, right? And they're like, oh, people are losing their crops because of droughts. Couldn't the government make it artificially rain to help the crops? Or, oh, right. Because why would the government ever do it to actually help the people if they had this technology when their whole mission is to control them? They cloud seed, they use HAARP, they use Nextrad, they geoengineer, and then they tell you it's all climate change. In fact, one of my favorite things, which some of you may not have seen because I've been using this clip often the last couple of years, but I don't know if I've used it on this channel that you might be hearing this on specifically, but at one point in time, Bloomberg was bragging about how Bill Gates was going to be the hurricane tamer. They were admitting that Bill Gates and these other rich psychopaths had the technology to steer hurricanes away from targets, right? Here, take a listen for yourself.
When you hear the name Bill Gates, you probably think Microsoft founder, but now the billionaire may be known as the hurricane tamer. Gates is listed as one of 13 inventors on a patent filed for hurricane prevention methods. Hurricanes gain strength from condensation driven by warm surface water, which leads to greater wind speeds. Gates and his team plan to use a fleet of ships to cool warm surface water by mixing it with colder water from greater depths. They hope this will sap energy from growing storms, leading to weaker, less devastating hurricanes. The patent, which isn't expected to be approved for another 18 months, was submitted by C-REIT LLC, a sub-entity of an Intellectual Ventures and an Invention Acquisition and Development firm.
Also, at one point, you're telling me the ability, and he was patenting the ways to steer this away from locations. What happened to that? What happened to that? Oh, is it because he's steering them directly at the locations? The same guy who's on the record is saying, everybody needs a digital ID. Everybody, even if there's not a disease, needs to be vaccinated. What else? Everybody's going to lose their jobs to AI. How depopulation's a great thing, right? Yeah, he would steer the hurricanes away from land areas like Jamaica where they could wipe out entire countries, right? Because he's that kind of a guy, right? Just like he told you a couple years ago, you didn't deserve to have a job. You didn't deserve to live in society unless you put his poison inside of your body. Then we all, of course, lost the freedom to speak for a couple of years. They've brought it back suspiciously, but that's obviously so that we could all be data mined by AI. But this is sabotage, ladies and gentlemen. What you're seeing are all of these countries under the guise that these guys are elected, from Trump to the guy in Jamaica, the prime minister there, to all these characters working together to sabotage. They are sabotaging infrastructure to rebuild, and they're using weather modification in some places to do it. In fact, here are a bunch of clips I put together over the years about weather modification and how this has been going on a long time. People out there need to wake up.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
It lays the predicate foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive, and as it turns out, the cleanest. That cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
Project Cirrus is the first official attempt to modify a hurricane. It was run by General Electric with the support of the U.S. military. The official theory was that by changing the temperature outside the eye wall of a hurricane, which they did by seeding the clouds with various compounds such as silver iodide, a decrease in strong winds will result. On October 13th, 1947, Project Cirrus targeted a hurricane heading out to sea. Approximately 180 pounds of dry ice was dropped into the clouds. The crew then reported a pronounced modification of the cloud deck, and the hurricane abruptly changed direction and made landfall near Savannah, Georgia. The public blamed the government. Irving Langmuir, who pioneered General Electric's atmospheric research department and admitted that the project was about learning how to weaponize the weather, also claimed the reversal of the hurricane had been caused by Project Cirrus. But the government denied it for 12 years.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations.
So what we have here, according to us, to the Senate and Congress and other people, are folks that will look you straight in the face and say, well, the idea of weather control, creation of earthquakes electronically and all of that's absolutely ridiculous, Mr. Fletcher, or anyone else that might ask it. However, we find out that our nation 20 years ago actually went into an entire convention that said, now that we can do it, we promise that we won't use it against other countries. Well, unfortunately, that promise does not include using it against ourselves here in the United States. So, again, when Senator Cole had asked me what it was that I meant, inferring that the New World Order persons will utilize it as a weapon against us, that was what I meant. A friend of mine said, there's patents on that equipment. And as you can see here, he's absolutely right. These are the paperwork of the actual patents on the electronic means by which waves or rays, if you will, can be utilized to block, stop, move, alter, change the weather. It includes creating storms, expanding them, and even generating ELF, low-frequency vibrations that actually can move Earth in the ground itself and possibly generate the possibility of earthquakes. But the very equipment that's being used presently, covertly, secretly, in a multitude of outrageous experiments and programs right now, the application of magnetics, electronics, electronic waves, and what have you, is all come off of the original Tesla.
See, I'm sure it's all coincidence, right? It's all coincidence that Jamaica has Vision 2030, that their prime minister has openly talked about digital infrastructure, changing everything over, getting rid of cash, making sure that you don't use cash, making sure you don't interact with humans, making sure everything's digital and through AI. And then that's the main goal of the UN. And that's the main goal of the World Economic Forum, right? Right? Yeah, how convenient that is. And now, well, when he's on the news 24 hours after his country was completely demolished, what's he talking about? He's smiling ear to ear. And what's he saying to you? He's saying, well, infrastructure's going to have to change. Now, we're having problems with the power grid. We're going to have to switch over. And you also conveniently have Vision 2030, where that's what the whole plan was, to have a digital infrastructure to get rid of the old one. Well, how are you going to get rid of the old one if the people don't agree? And the people go, we don't want to get rid of the old one. We don't want to pay to get rid of the old one. Well, you just destroy it. You sabotage it, right? Bingo. And that's exactly what you're seeing going on. And don't think Donald Trump's not in on it, because he's building these massive data centers. He's working with these Satanists like Oracle, like Sam Altman, like we saw with Elon Musk, who's trying to get the Neuralink in people's minds and telling you that you're going to live in a society where everybody's connected to the Internet of Bodies through a brain-computer interface. These are all guys working hand in hand with Trump, but nobody wants to hear it because they don't want to believe it. They don't want to admit to being wrong. That's really one of the main things. And they need this hope here on earth. They live, no, I don't want to think like that Trump's not one of us. Then what do we do? What's your solution for it? Huh? Well, if everything's run through technology, what do you think the solution is? Shut it off. Get rid of it. Remember how they live ends? They blow up the satellite? Yeah. Something along those lines, where everybody gets together and they go, you know what? We've given too much power to these psychopaths because we've become too dependent on tech, and we all need to pull back from it. And don't say, oh, you're hypocritical. You're recording this on the internet right now. No crap, I am. But I don't need to be here, and I don't want to be here. I'm trying to help people and use this against them. But when the time comes for a digital ID, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to give in so I could upload videos because I need to or because my ego. I don't have one. I'm doing this to try to help. This channel's not monetized. There's no income coming in from it anymore. This is, for me, a way to wake up the youth out there to understand what this is. And as long as we allow ourselves to be controlled by tech and allow them to convince us to go to sports stadiums and concerts and not use cash anymore, to allow them to do biometrics when we walk in and out of Walmart, if we keep allowing it, then it's over. And they're going to keep doing the other things that they have to do to move forward, like repossessing our land, like destroying land with directed energy weapons, smart meters, things I've warned people about to get off their homes, weaponized weather. I mean, think about in America how easy it is to do this with weaponized weather. Our homes are made of paper. That's how stupid Americans are. We don't build our homes so that the homes can be, secure. It's like the Three Little Pigs. It's almost like it's just right in our faces, right? They huff and they puff and they blow the house down. Well, that's exactly what's going to occur. Because we've all allowed, mortgages and having homes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're all made of paper. They don't even need a Category 4 to wipe out towns and areas anymore. Right? They could do it pretty easily. They could huff and puff and blow our homes in. And that's what they're doing. And it's just like I said earlier, it's about taking land. They're targeting specific areas. They have bullseyes on these areas. These places have visions 2030s for themselves, right? Which go right on with the United Nations goals of Agenda 2030. And they're just like land developers. That's what they are. They pick these places. They're like, this is where we're going to do it. This is where we're going to build this smart city, that one. And nobody in those locations is going to go, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm a pizzeria. Yeah, you could destroy my building and build me another one. Well, they'd be like, well, no. We're not going to build you another one. We want your building. Okay, we'll give you 10 cents on the dollar for it. The guy goes, no. And even if we give you what it's worth, the guy's going to go, no, I've lived here my whole life. I've worked here my whole life. They're going to get every building, every building owner, every, small business to comply and go, oh yeah, now you have to run through, you can only accept digital currency here. You can't accept cash. Okay. You have to put all these smart devices inside your stores. No one's going to comply. So they're demolishing these places and saying, look, you can't rebuild your business here. You can't live here anymore. We're going to come in with affordable housing. It's for equality for everybody, for all the poor people out there that we've made poor, and everybody can live happily. And eventually, we'll have equal income too, because it's not fair that other people make more money. It's just all guys, right? People out there who don't make good income. They go, well, it's not fair to me. They train them. Oh, it's not fair. It's because of my skin. It's because of this. It's because of that. They're training everybody into being okay with a universal basic income. So we live in these smart prisons that we're all building out anyway. Our homes are turning into smart prisons with the technology. And then when everyone's on equal income and AI takes the jobs, and people go, well, at least I can play video games all day. Then they go, well, you got to ration your electricity. I mean, little by little, they're going to take away every right. You're going to end up looking in the mirror if you're even allowed to have one. And you're going to go, I'm a prisoner. I don't have the orange outfit on, but I have a similar one because I'm only allowed 3 outfits because of climate change, and I'm only allowed to wash them once a month because of climate change. I'm only allowed to flush the toilet once a week. I'm only allowed to shower once every 2. And you go, you know what? Whew, prisoners probably had it better. Yeah, and that's what their plan is for all of us. So think about it. Jamaica, Vision 2030. What a coincidence, right? Only time will tell where else we'll see their thumbprint with their geoengineering and weather modification. But it's happening, folks, and it's happening fast. I thank everybody for being here. Prayers for anybody affected by any of this weaponized weather and any of these things that these psychopaths who are committing mass genocide do. These people literally, I don't even believe, are human. They are completely soulless, demonic entities or vessels that have demonic entities in them. Because you see what they're doing, you hear what they're saying. These guys have billions and trillions of dollars. They can literally just go to the beach for the rest of their lives and drink cocktails every day. And what they're hell-bent on is this, doing what they're doing, destroying, ruining lives, and taking control over people's lives. And that's what they're doing. I thank everybody again for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families, as always.